Pursuant to notice, I now call up H.R. 3613, the Streamlining Foreign Military Sales Act of 2025. The bill was circulated in advance, and the clerk shall designate the bill.
H.R. 3613 to amend the Arms Export Control Act to streamline foreign military sales under that act.
Without objection, the first reading is dispensed with, and the bill is considered read and open to amendment at any point. And I will now recognize myself in support of the bill. We've spoken a lot about foreign defense sales and how they've skyrocketed in the past several years. As the global threat landscape evolves, our partners and allies are increasingly turning to the United States to procure not only American defense systems, but also American training and equipment, because it's the best. Hands down, there's nothing better out there anywhere across the globe. The United States remains the partner of choice for our foreign allies, but slow delivery timelines and bureaucratic red tape undermine our ability to keep up with the increasing demand for U.S.-made systems. A single FMS case can take years to receive the necessary approvals from the U.S. government, and each FMS case requires considerable effort from U.S. officials at the State Department and Department of Defense to prepare. The dollar threshold that determine which defense sales cases need congressional approval have not been updated since the year 2003, despite rising inflation and rapidly increasing demand. President Trump called attention to this matter on April 9th executive order, which required the interagency to consider raising the threshold levels to reduce bureaucratic red tape and speed up the foreign defense sales process. As part of the work of the Arms Sales Task Force, Representative Zinke's legislation to update the congressional notification threshold to levels requested by President Trump would maintain congressional oversight powers while reducing red tape and expediting process for our foreign arms sales. I would like to now ask, do any other members seek recognition? In support? Yes. Representative Jacobs is still recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rarely in my years in Congress have I seen legislative proposals that actually reduce Congress and this committee's oversight ability on consequential national security matters. But this bill is one such case. It is now more important than ever for Congress to assert itself and stand up to increasing executive power, overreach, and maintain its important responsibility to check the power of the executive. I cannot support this measure that would decrease congressional oversight ability. This bill amends the Arms Export Control Act by significantly increasing congressional notification dollar thresholds for major arms sales required to be notified and reviewed by Congress. Representative Zinke's bill either doubles or triples in certain categories the threshold at which major arms sales or other types of defense transfers would be notified to Congress. Higher thresholds mean less oversight and visibility for Congress, as any sales that fall below the dollar value threshold are not notified or reviewed by Congress at all. Even at the current notification levels, without this bill's increases, in 2020, the State Department Inspector General found that over a 4-year period, the State Department provided more than $11 billion in below-threshold sales to Saudi Arabia and the UAE, including weapons Congress had placed holds on due to legitimate concerns over civilian casualties and egregious human rights violations. Much as we saw with the effort last year to move similar legislation, both incorrectly pins partner country frustration with slow U.S. arms deliveries to the congressional review process when, in fact, most significant delays are due to an obsolete, outmoded defense contracting system that piggybacks on top of numerous defense manufacturing constraints and inefficiencies by the industry itself. Notably absent from the conversation and claims made by industry is the continued destruction of our State Department and the summary firing of over 1,300 hardworking Americans without cause. At no point did the Trump administration, either through its arms sales executive order or the minimal consultation with committee about such proposals, ever address the staffing needs or increased budget to lessen strained political military affairs bureau workloads. While my majority colleagues may be quick to claim that the political military affairs functions have been spared the worst cuts of the administration's shameful mass firings, that does not address short-staffed offices and teams there. Let's not kid ourselves. Rubio's cuts at the department will make these delays worse. You cannot do more with less. And worse, this bill further weakens congressional oversight over arms sales as the Trump administration actively undermines the legislative branch at every turn, bypassing congressional review of sensitive arms sales on multiple occasions and seeking corrupt pay-to-play deals. By raising the threshold amounts as the bill proposes, Congress will lose visibility on what arms are being transferred to what countries, struggle to ensure that transfers are consistent with U.S. law, policy, and interests. So I oppose this bill and its objectives, which undercut the oversight functions of this committee. I yield back.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Jayapal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill is another attempt by Republicans to shield the president's corruption from accountability and weaken the already limited checks and balances that exist for arms sales. This administration doesn't seem to want to answer for the lethal weapons it's sending, doesn't seem to want to answer to Congress, not to the public, and certainly not to the people that these weapons are used against. They know that if Congress were allowed to weigh in, many of these sales, including to serial human rights abusers, would never pass scrutiny. So they're doing the only thing they can to avoid accountability, trying to hide the deals altogether. These notifications of arms sales give Congress the ability to weigh in and conduct oversight into the lethal weapons that we send abroad. By raising the reporting threshold by tens of millions of dollars, the president will be able to send billions of dollars in weapons, including drones, bombs, surveillance tools, to foreign governments without even a whisper to Congress. Already, the majority of weapons sold through direct commercial sales fall under the existing notification thresholds, meaning that Congress never actually sees them. And with this bill, even more deals, including deadly ones, would be buried from public view. This isn't streamlining, it's whitewashing. Let's talk about what's already happened under Donald Trump's presidency. Earlier this year, he took a trip to the UAE. He got wined, dined, and bribed by Emirati officials. And when he returned, his administration quietly bypassed Congress, notifying billions of dollars in weapons sales to the Emiratis without adhering to the committee review process that has long been considered best practice. This administration rushed forward with the sale despite credible evidence linking UAE weapons supplies to the brutal RSF militia in Sudan, because it was in the best interest of the president, not of the American people. This undermines democratic accountability, and it highlights another aspect of this administration's corruption. Even though Congress was cut out of the decision to send weapons of war, at least we knew it was happening, so we could attempt to use legislative tools to block sales that aren't in Americans' best interests. Earlier this year, I joined Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib in introducing joint resolutions of disapproval to block the sale of specific offensive weapons to Israel. These sales included bulldozers that have been used to flatten Palestinian homes, JDAM guidance kits that have been used to target civilians, schools, and hospitals, and 2,000-pound bombs with a blast radius so large that they cannot be used in densely populated areas like Gaza without inflicting mass civilian casualties. While these attempts were blocked, they at least provided the American people with transparency about what was happening and the U.S. role in providing these weapons. That is far from sufficient. We need to respond to these atrocities with restraint, with a true assessment of how to ensure that any government upholds our own laws and international humanitarian laws. Instead of that, however, Congress is now being asked to loosen the rules and let even more weapons flow with even less oversight. Republicans are trying to tell the American people that oversight is somehow too cumbersome, that transparency slows things down too much, that checks and balances that are built into these processes are not necessary, and that all power should be concentrated in the hands of the president and his administration. This kind of impunity from oversight is what endangers our credibility and our democratic processes. This bill is not just misguided, it's dangerous. It gives cover to future presidents, Democrat or Republican, who want to green-light shady arms deals behind closed doors and flood foreign battlefields with U.S. arms entirely off the books. It's a gift to dictators, a green light for war profiteers, and a direct attack on Congress's oversight. It lets the defense industry write foreign policy and tells the world that the United States is more interested in hastily selling bombs than in protecting human rights. So if you believe in the checks and balances our democracy was founded on, vote no. If you believe in congressional authority and Article I powers, vote no. If you believe in human rights, vote no. And if you believe that no president should be able to sell weapons to autocrats without so much as a cursory notice to Congress, vote no. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Any further discussion? Representative Zinke is now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the chairman and ranking member for the consideration of H.R. 3613, the bipartisan Streaming Foreign Military Sales Act of 2025. From Europe to Indo-Pacific, partner nations are increasingly turning to the United States for the tools they need to deter aggression and defend their sovereignty and stabilize the region. There's a reason why U.S. military hardware is highly sought after, because it's effective. FMS by U.S. companies exceeded $115 billion. That's up from $80.9 billion in 2023. When factoring it in as far as direct military sales and FMS, that exceeds what the Department of Defense spends for their equipment. The supply chain in the United States could not operate without foreign military sales and direct commercial sales. These figures underscore the urgency felt by nations throughout the globe amid changing global security paradigms, where equipment changes, generations changes within weeks and sometimes months, but never years, and our procurement system is widely outdated. Within the FMS and DCS processes, magnitudes more of arms sales are from that program than defense. As far as oversight goes, every decision still goes through the same rigorous processes of approval, human rights evaluations, and other units and agencies monitored, to include the Department of State, Blue Lantern, and Department of Defense, Golden Century. If you don't know what the Leahy laws are, then I suggest you look them up. Congress has never successfully blocked an arms sales. Congressional notification has not been updated since 1976 in some cases. What we've created is a bureaucracy, a nightmare for companies. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter the record as a statement of support from the Aerospace Industries Association and a detailed listing almost in every member's jurisdiction and areas are absolutely small companies that depend on our supply system, depend on jobs, American jobs, of supplying the systems.
Without objection.
Thank you. So with that, Mr. Chairman, this was developed also in concert with Secretary Hegseth and Secretary Rubio, and supports President Trump's April 19th executive order of how to reform foreign defense sales to improve speed and accountability. The changes that are made as far as effectiveness goes, it would reduce FMS notifications by about 15%, still having 85%. Again, these figures have not been adjusted for decades. And then as far as the direct commercial sales, it would reduce about 30 to 40% reduction. And with that, I think it's absolutely incredibly important that we increase the speed and accountability of our foreign partners, because right now what happens is our foreign partners pay for it up front. We assuredly will deliver it late, and whatever we do deliver will be obsolete. And in this changing environment, our allies matter, our ability to fight effectively matters, and our ability to make sure we support national strategic policy is what we should be looking at. And I urge your support. I will be calling a recorded vote.
Very good. Any further discussion of the bill? Seeing none. Does any member wish to offer an amendment? Seeing none. There being no further amendments, I move that the committee report H.R. 3613 to the House with a favorable recommendation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no.
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion is agreed to.
Mr. Chairman, I request a recorded vote.
A roll call vote has been requested. Pursuant to the chair's previous announcement, this vote will be postponed.